So here we go, a Sunday video for you guys, and today I'm going to talk about the brand new stock for 2025 that I'm buying. So I started buying this stock around about 2 weeks ago now, and it's going to be a significant position probably in the portfolio. I would say somewhere between maybe the 5th, 6th largest position in the portfolio. I think if you guys have already seen me hint that I've been buying this stock the last couple of weeks on the YouTube, so I think a few of you know about it, but if you don't, this is the video for you, and I'll kind of give you a few reasons why I'm buying this stock. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe. We're so close now to 18,000 subscribers. I think we're about 100 subscribers off there. So when we do get there, I'll make sure I do a live Q&A session for you guys on the main YouTube channel. But apart from that, let's get started. Now, obviously, you guys on the Patreon know I've been buying this new stock into the portfolio. But if you do want my live buy and sell alerts on the Patreon, you can join through the link in the description. £5 a month. You also get 2 exclusive videos a week on the Patreon, nearly 100 exclusive videos a year on there, and it is going up by 20% on the pricing point of view in this next week. I don't know if it'll be Wednesday or Thursday, but the Patreon will be going up for the first time in 54 months. We've just got to reflect the amount of content that's gone on there now, and also some of the quality of the stock picks in the last few years. I think it's been very cheap, and I think it'll still remain pretty cheap, but obviously you get to save yourself an extra £10-15 a year if you sign up right now. So obviously there you go, take advantage of it while it's at the cheaper rates if you do want to join. But let's get stuck onto this stock. So the new stock I've been buying into 2025, my brand new stock, is AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, or as it's been referred to in the last 24 months, Advanced Money Destroyer. It's not been a great performing stock in the last couple of months. So if we zoom out, as you can see here, the stock is around about down 9% in the last year, which obviously majorly underperformed the S&P 500. And if we go out to the 5-year chart, you can see here the stock was around about $207 in March time 2024, and since then the stock has fallen down around about 40%, which is a significant dip. If you look at the AMD stock price in the last kind of few years, you can see there's not loads of times it's actually fallen that much. The last kind of significant drop was during the 2021-2022 stock market crash, when everything went to extreme valuations, and then it all fell to the floor a year later. But if you do zoom out a little bit more, you can actually see it's actually been a pretty significant performer. You know, if we go on a 5-year point of view, even with the drop that it's on, still currently up 157% in the last 5 years. And if we zoom out to the maximum, you can see here, especially around 2014, the stock has really picked up, and over the last decade, the stock is up over something around 5,000%, which you'd be very happy with that return, wouldn't you? So yeah, it's been very good. First of all, worth pointing this out because we're on the point of view of the last decade with AMD. So there's sometimes some stocks that management team are key to your investment. Management team, I say all the time, is that management team make or break your investment. Having a good management team can significantly improve your return in the stock. They're there every day making the key decisions. You need them to make the right decisions. If management team make one very bad decision, it can destroy your investment. So you need a good management team, obviously, when you're buying these stocks, and a trustworthy management team. And AMD is one of those where sometimes you invest for the people. There's certain stocks where I would say Meta's one of them. Mark Zuckerberg, people criticize him a lot and still do to this day, even though the stock's performed absolutely amazing. And there's a point where you look at Facebook and Meta for so many times, even only 2 years ago in 2022, people said it was a dead stock at $80. And it was like, well, you questioning Mark Zuckerberg is brave, because, when Snapchat came along, people were worried that Meta were going to struggle. And then they brought the stories out. TikTok came along saying, that's it, it's dead for Meta. And then obviously Meta then brought out the Reels. And every single time there's been a threat to Meta, and you look at the acquisition of Instagram as well, every time there's a threat, Mark Zuckerberg redevelops that company and it comes back even stronger. AMD, I would say that the management team at AMD, Lisa Su, being in there since 2014, is one of the significant reasons why I'm investing into a stock. Since she took over in 2014, the development in some of the technology at AMD has been significant, and that has developed into the returns, the products, the profit, and you can see the performance here. And right now, AMD is going on a little slump. My opinion is that Lisa Su, once again, will get the technology ramped up in AMD, and it will be very competitive once again. And I think that it's someone that I'd like to back in this stock. You look at what they've done with Intel. AMD came along a few years ago. Intel, no one will ever beat Intel. Nobody will ever knock them off. AMD comes in, now we're overtaking Intel. and basically they have been the main reason why Intel has struggled over the last few years. But what AMD hasn't done in the last year or 2 years is that a few people thought they were going to get on the AI hype, and you could see the rally as the AI hype kind of came in. People thought, oh, AMD is going to be a major player, but it wasn't. The technology wasn't good enough from AMD. Now NVIDIA has successfully filled the gap where AMD has left it, and NVIDIA has been very successful. Compared to Intel's stock performance, it's been very poor. However, in my opinion, AMD in the next 12 months is going to start closing that gap up once again, and it will be a lot more competitive to someone like a likes of NVIDIA, for example. So one of the key reasons why is obviously the artificial intelligence space at the moment. The artificial intelligence space is growing massively. I was unsure how long this was going to go on for. It seems like it's here to stay at the moment from what we can see. When we listen to a lot of the big businesses, the likes of Microsoft out there, the likes of Amazon out there, Meta out there, they're not only keeping up their AI spending, it seems like they're increasing it. And that was very clear yesterday when we saw the likes of Microsoft once again putting another 80 billion on AI data centers. So they're very keen to keep spending all this money on AI. And it's not even just them, a lot of other companies, if they want to keep up with the likes of these kind of Mag 7, they're going to have to invest in AI as well. And it seems like some companies seem to suggest they are getting the benefits from the AI. And at the moment what we're seeing is more growth and more growth. And right now we're expecting the market to grow at 27%. Now, this is going to be major growth in the next kind of few years. And NVIDIA really can't continue to just solely handle all this kind of growth here. There has to be other players that come into this space and take it up. And that's why we need other companies to be successful. And that's why the likes of Meta need AMD to be successful as well, because they don't want to go to NVIDIA all the time when NVIDIA has all the pricing power. A lot of these companies need AMD to become competitive once again, so they can kind of go spend some more money with AMD. So at the moment, AMD has fallen behind, even with some of the big clients that they do have. But what we're looking for is for them to start bouncing back, and that seems to be what's happening now when we look at the likes of AMD. So it recently introduced its MI325X IA accelerator. We also have the MI350 that is going to be coming out. I think it's coming out this quarter or next quarter. I can't remember exactly which one it is. So we have another new product that is supposed to be able to go against NVIDIA's new Blackwell AI project. So these the kind of new products coming out that is going to go against the likes of NVIDIA. We also look, and there's also the MI355X coming in H2 2025, and that's a new product. I don't think we know the complete details around it just yet, but hopefully that is also another competitive product for them. And also in 2026, we have the MI400X as well. Same again, there's not too many details out for that one, but that's also another product that's in the pipeline. Now, the negative I do have with this is that when you are an outsider is that you don't have the full details on when some of these are going to be released, and you don't know how competitive they are going to be to NVIDIA. So there's sometimes the concern that these products come out, you think they're going to be very competitive, and then they go, actually they're pretty poor release, and then all of a sudden you can be, stung. And sometimes there's the cycle availability as well. Sometimes a lot of these GPUs go in cycles. Sometimes they're at boom, sometimes they're at bust. That's also the concern that you have with this kind of sort of space. So that's only really the negative that I do have with this. But then you look at the risk to reward. So there's the kind of risk here with that kind of space. So what would the reward be on a stock like this? Well, the reward on a stock like this is that AMD currently trades at 25 forward times earnings. That's not too bad, especially when you look at what the company historically has done. And you look at the current forecast, we expected EPS to go from the year ago of $2.65 up to $3.33. Last year we grew at 13%. This year we're expecting revenue growth of 26%, which is obviously very good. And as we look at the recent updates, we've seen the improvement. We saw in Q2, AMD was at 9%. We saw in Q3 that AMD has gone up to 17%. And when we look at the Q4, we're expecting growth of 22%. So the growth has been scaling up. And like we said, you've got it at a pretty good valuation, 25 forward times earnings. If we look at what historically AMD has traded at, normally around about 33 times earnings was kind of the lowest during this time period. Now, there isn't much of a history on AMD's P/E ratio, but on a free cash flow point of view, historically, it's currently traded at 131 times free cash flow. Currently at 131 times free cash flow. But actually, when we look at the future cash flow of AMD, so if we go to 2025 numbers, because we are expecting a big bounce up next year in profitability, we're talking about AMD being somewhere around about 26 times free cash flow potentially, which is only slightly above what historically the lowest amount has ever been for AMD. And on top, you've got a pretty decent balance sheet. As you can see here, 1.2 billion in debt, which isn't too bad for a 195 billion market cap company, with a nice cash balance where they can pay off all that debt as well. And really there's four kind of components to the AMD revenue, which is the data center, the client, the gaming, and the embedded. Gaming hopefully bounces back next year. Hopefully we'll get some new console releases starting to come out as well. PC releases, obviously some new games like GTA might speed that up next year, so that could be a bit of a bounce back. But client and data centers are the biggest part of the revenue as well, especially the data center. That's where the big growth is in the likes of the AI, for example. And if we look at the gross margins have improved massively from where they were in 2023 up to Q3 in 2024. Big amounts of growth here, and the reason why that's growing so much is the data centers. So we talked about there's four parts of the business. The data center is the largest part and the most important part, in my opinion, right now. And as we see here, the revenue was up 122%. So that's where the growth is coming from, as that is growing rapidly at the moment. Also, like we said just a second ago, the gross margin's improving. The reason why is because the data centers is the highest gross margin part of the business. So because the highest gross margin of the part of the business is growing the fastest, that's why we're seeing the profit jump up so much. So when we look at these forecasts of 25 forward times earnings, why is that happening? Well, it's because the most profitable part of the business is growing the fastest. And as they scale up and this does more revenue, just the level of scale and the higher margin business means that's why we're going to see the big jumps in profitability. And even next year, so that's 2024 numbers, 2025 numbers from $3.33 up to $5.13. That's why we're seeing the big jump in profitability. And if we do go on past 2025 numbers, as you can see here, that's why we're expecting the profit to go up massively. So let's look at some numbers here. So AMD, I put 15, 20, 25% revenue growth in. Obviously, the next year growth numbers are even higher than what I've got forecast in. But obviously, this is over a 5-year period, so I'm just slowing some form of slowdown. If we do look at profit margins, 15, 20, 25%. Now, I think there'll be around about 15% profit margin next year. And then I assume some expansion in the likes of 2026, 2027. 20 times earnings in, I don't like to assume frothy market valuations. And on the low side, not too bad, a little bit of downside there, but not too much at negative 16%. Mid side, 32%, and on the high side, we've got nearly our 100% return. Now, realistically, I don't think AMD will trade at 20 times earnings. I think it will trade higher than there, but I just didn't want to go too frothy to start with. But you can see here, even with the basic kind of numbers here, there's not much downside, and the upside is looking quite attractive. Realistically, I would expect AMD to go up to something like a 30, 40 times earnings, especially if it's doing these numbers here. So what I'll do is, I realistically think they'll be somewhere on this, the middle or the high side that I've kind of put in here. So I'm just going to update those numbers for you really quickly. So if I was to say like it went up to a 30 times earnings multiple, which I think realistically that's where it will kind of get to. If we have a look here, we'll put the wrong number in. So yeah, now you can see there's actually 100% on the mid side and 200% on the upside, which is really attractive. If the market is really kind to us and it does kind of throw a 40 times multiple on it, I'm not assuming this, but this could be, really best case scenario, I think. Yeah, you get nearly 165% and nearly 300% on the upside. So you can see here, yeah, when I look at the risk to reward here, I'm certainly seeing it. And when you look at my numbers here, like there's not much kind of downside really. If I'm only down 16% in the next 5 years, yeah, it'll suck, but it's not the worst thing ever. And I would say that when you look at those numbers there, I think they will achieve at least 15% revenue growth, 15% profit margin, 20 times earnings. There's a lot of really that, that'd be very disappointing if those hit those numbers, and to only have the risk of 16% downside there isn't too bad at all really. So yeah, when I look to the risk to reward, there's some risk elements here in this kind of space. The chip cycles, are the products going to be successful? But when I look at the reward side, I can justify putting some money into this stock. So yeah, AMD is a new stock for me into 2025, and I will be building a position up, and it will be a bit of a bigger position than some of my more recent ones. I am aiming for probably like a 5th, 6th largest position in this one, so significantly larger position. So we'll see how it does. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in a bit.